Choice, where the actors have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting through actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Brewington, and welcome to the Actor's Choice. Glad to have you here. And during this special holiday time, we wish each and every one of you and your family that you had a great time with Santa Claus, and we got New Year's coming up. Well, we got a very special guest today. Her name is Carmelita Pittman. She's an actress, she's a singer, she's a performer, she's a producer, she is an artist, and she's totally proactive in our community. I'd like to welcome Carmelita Pittman. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you. Thank you. You know, like I said, you have done so much this, and we'll get to it in the next hour. Some of the things that you've done, can't get to all of them, we'll get to as many as we can. Your resume is heavy, my dear. Where did it all begin for you?
Well, it all began for me with having a good background with a loving mother who really paved the way for me. And of course, in order for her to have done that, she had to have a very heavy father, which we all know is God.
It don't get no better than that. That's a three-letter word that everybody loves and needs to have.
Yes.
It's God.
Yes.
God has done many things for you, me, and a whole lot of people.
Yeah, well, she was very instrumental in my life. Of course, I had a stepfather that was supportive in many ways too. He was the only father I knew. He was from Pakistan, Shiraz Uddin, who was, the one who basically raised me with my mother.
I see. Being in L.A., I mean, this is Hollywood is here and a few other places. How did that influence you?
Well, I feel very privileged now that I, am aware, now that I'm old enough to know, looking back on my heritage, how privileged I really was, because I was completely oblivious to what was going on in terms of what's happening in this country, of the situation with the silliness of the preoccupation with color. And by me being an artist, I love colors, all colors, looks beautiful to me. But then at that time when I was very small, I looked around and everybody just was a variety to me, but most of them looked pink to me, so I called them pink people, because I grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly Caucasian, but I didn't know that at the time. Nobody told me that, and I didn't know anything other than, me being who I am, that there was anything different about me, So it was a very unique way of seeing the world. And then I found out later on about the other side of my heritage, and that made me open my eyes. And I'm still learning, things that are opening my eyes. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, when are people going to get it together? Because we all come from one source, all of us. Yes, we all have the same heritage, regardless of how we came packaged, And I relate to all of them, and in that way I feel very privileged, because I feel at home anywhere I go, with whoever I am. I feel comfortable.
Thank you. By the way, 323-965-1600. That's our call-in line if you'd like to speak to Carmelita. That number again, 323-965-1600. Carmelita, when did you first get your first break in acting?
Well, I never really looked at it that way. I just go with the flow, and looking back on my first little taste of acting really was because a friend of mine, Diana Falk, God bless her, she's gone on to glory now, she said, Carmelita, I think I'd like to be an actress. I said, oh, that sounds like fun. And she wanted me to go with her to this audition. And I didn't know anything about the play or anything. I just decided I would go. And while I was there, it just so happened that my friend William Marshall, and he's gone on to glory now too, a fabulous actor, a pioneer, a groundbreaker, and a personal friend, was there for the audition. And I was looking at him along with everybody else in total puzzlement because the moment he opened his mouth, this big booming professional voice comes out, and everybody's saying, well, why is he at the audition? He's already got the part, but see, him being the professional that he was, he auditioned along with everybody else. And, was always impressed by that.
Got you. I call it the A word, the audition. The guests that we have and all the actors that I've met over my lifetime, when you bring up that word audition, they get real uptight. How do you feel about when you have to audition?
I really haven't had that many auditions, to be honest, so except, I guess the most recent one was when I was in a musical, and it turned out to be a great experience that was produced by the Pink Lady. She's like a ball of dynamite, all wrapped up in this little small pink package, and she's in her 80s now. And she's pushing her age because they just had her as a guest where she was honored by the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. And she and Judge Judy were on parade there as one of the honorees. And she stood up behind the podium and said, well, I'm 80s, and I can't think of how many, 80 and 3/4 or whatever, but she's pushing the envelope, right? So with us, it's not about age, because I feel that age is just a number. And I just keep on going as long as I can go. I'm like the Energizer Bunny. And as long as I'm able to do, I will do. And when I auditioned for her particular production, which was wonderful, she had one of the best choreographers you could ask for, Kate Kaplan, who had won many awards. In fact, she won an Ovation Award. Debbie Allen was up for the same award, and Kate won the award. So you can imagine the caliber of talent that Kate had, and she really worked us. I mean, we did not just act, we danced. I mean, the choreography was incredible. And the Pink Lady was a real driver. I mean, she even had us rehearsing on Mother's Day. And there was no let up from, early in the day till late at night. We were rehearsing until we had it perfect. And we wound up getting standing ovations and a fabulous production. It was called The Beat Goes On.
The Beat Goes On.
And they used one of my original compositions that I had produced in it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
And we did that at the Arena Stage in Hollywood. And it ran for several weeks. And it was a lot. I mean, getting to know the cast and making friends, it's like family, know.
Yes.
And now I've got two of the ladies in a tribute that we do to the Andrews sisters. And we've been doing that for the Southern California Motion Picture Council and, the 4th of July and that kind of thing. So I've set that aside to do with them for those special days. And I just did something recently, as a matter of fact, this past Saturday for the Veterans Center. I performed there. And there's another group of ladies who I met recently. The leader of the group is called Reflections, and they do a tribute to the Supremes. And I had that opportunity to join them, but I'm saving that for something special because the organization that I'm very involved with the Southern California Motion Picture Council, they have just basically put me out front.
Excellent.
With every holiday that comes around, Carmelita, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. So I've been doing every holiday. And I'm thinking, I'd love to do a tribute to Motown because I keep running into Motown's people. Every time I turn around, I'm running into somebody from Motown, and then some of them are really good friends, like Brenda Holloway. Oh, I love Brenda Holloway. Oh, my God, she's one of my best friends. I had, unfortunately, a double fracture in my wrist. And Brenda found out about it, and she came over with her friend. And, people give you greeting cards, but Brenda gave me money, too, in the greeting card.
Right.
Came over to the house, and she's that kind of a person, And I know so many of them. I know Sherry Payne, and I met Frida Payne, but I really love closer to Sherry because I remember her. Frida came to the parties that I was part of the production of too. But I just knew Sherry a little bit better, and she's been over to the house, and so
She'll be here in 2 weeks, by the way.
okay. I keep
Sit
running.
right here.
You know what? I tease her all the time. I say, it looks like we're following each other. Or I'm
Yes.
following you, or I must be following her because she's more out front than I am. But it's amazing how you find yourself in a group of people. And I said, I guess I must be in that classroom because I believe that life is a giant
Yes, it is.
classroom.
Yes, it is.
And if you notice that it's such a small world, and you could be overseas. I've gone overseas and run into people that I know.
Right.
I mean, out of all the people that you meet, I keep running into the same circle of people, and they're all on the same level. I said, okay, that's the classroom I must be in.
Hey. As Mr. Gordy says, Motown forever.
Yes.
Forever.
And speaking of Berry Gordy, I was just at the Strike Fest recently
Yes.
for Fuller Gordy.
Fuller Gordy's brother.
Yes, and I saw him there, and he looks so great. His skin is so smooth.
85 years old, 86
He
maybe.
does. He hasn't aged
great.
a bit, and I was just thinking about that book that Mickey Stevenson wrote
Yes.
about the A&R men. I went to the premiere of it, of the they
book.
had, and Smokey was there, and like I said, I keep running into these people.
Motown people, yeah.
And I got the book, and Mickey autographed it for me, and I read that book from cover to cover, and let me tell you, I can see why Motown was so successful. They were also, but that house was built on God.
Amen.
I mean, that was a family. They loved one another. He really, really loved that Motown family.
Yes, he did.
And Berry Gordy, he loved him. And I shouldn't say loved past tense. I'm sure he still does. But it's just that at that time, when Motown was
Right.
up and
Sound of America at that time.
oh
yes.
my God!
Yes.
And the doors that they opened,
up.
and the barriers that they
Yes.
broke.
Yes.
Oh my God! What they went through.
Yes.
My goodness. And I heard Mary Wilson was speaking about some of the experiences that they had to go through.
Right.
I don't know if I could have lived through that. But
Yes.
like I said, I
Yes.
was so naive. I didn't know anything about anything.
Yes, right.
I was born out on the West Coast.
Right.
There were very few people that were American of African descent at the school I went to.
Okay.
So I didn't see
Right.
that many people of color, or of real color.
Gotcha.
So I didn't know. I mean, I've been my friend said you've been sheltered, and they were right. I have been
possible.
sheltered,
Yeah.
and in a way that's a good thing.
In a way it is.
Because you see, I have a totally different point of view of things. I don't have that bitterness or the anger. I used to look at people and wonder, why are black folks so angry all the time?
Yeah.
And I wonder what was what was the problem. Now
you know.
now I know.
Now you know.
Now I understand
What's that
now.
expression? Now you know the rest of it.
Now I know the rest of the story. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It is truly amazing. And anyway, I just pray that someday that everybody will come together. That's the reason why I want to talk about peace today. I want, before we end this program, about
Please.
the Peace March. Can I talk
Please,
about it for
please,
now?
please.
Yeah. I'm involved with Dr. Carpatino's Peace March.
Okay.
She had this vision to put this together, and it's based partially on history because in the 1800s there was a march of ladies dressed in white. That's the reason I'm wearing
And
white.
white today.
Yes, to
She's
promote
looking good, y'all, looking
promote
good.
the Peace March. And she came up with this concept because if anybody has noticed the news, we could use some peace
Yes.
around the world, and it starts with ourselves. When you want to try to change someone else, the first person you really need to change is yourself. When people come to that realization, like Michael Jackson said, look at the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror, whatever, and start there, and do something to improve yourself, to help make things better. Because can you imagine if each and every person did that? If each and every person just did that.
We'd have some
Instead of
pieces.
instead of meddling in somebody else's business or trying to change it, just work on yourself, change yourself, and do what you can do, and follow that bright star. We were talking about stars earlier. Follow that bright star. And on that note, I have what I call my personal anthem.
Okay.
That came to me through, I believe, spiritual inspiration. I do what I also call spirit songs.
Okay.
Like I can make up a song about you on the spot. I know not where it comes from, I only know it comes from above and love. So I do spirit songs. But this one came through, and I believe it came from that part of my ancestry, from West Africa, because those of us Americans, and I always say Americans first, because I'd like to know when we all get to be Americans, just Americans.
Right.
We're just Americans. Right. But I believe that those of us who are Americans of African descent, and knowing me, I claim everything else. But I believe that influence must have come from West Africa. And then, of course, the European, which I recognize, and the Native American, and my Hispanic heritage, which was from Mexico.
Right.
So this chant is written in the Yoruba language, which was translated for me from Jimmy Sherlange, from Nigeria. And
is there some music that you have?
Yes, and I believe that your audience will hear a little bit of it.
Okay.
I met because at that time I was teaching at a junior high school in the inner city, as they call it, inner city. And I produced, and at that time we were calling it Afro Expo. I had the entire school involved. I wrote a grant about it. I wanted to show how Africa had contributed to the culture of America, and everybody was involved, all of the disciplines, including the math department. They came up with the Owari games, and the PE department, they learned about the Jamaican dancing and the calypso dancing and so on. And we had the African cookbooks. Being an art educator, well, we created sets, and the mothers, the parents, they created dashikis. I took my students shopping. We went to Hollywood. We went to Hollywood, whatever you want to call it. And I took them on a shopping expedition, and we went and we bought authentic African fabrics, and then the parents, made them up. And then everybody was on display there. We had the social studies program learn about the history, like about the Kush Empire and so on. A lot of people don't realize that Africa had an advanced culture before they were invaded.
Right, by other people. And
the more you learn about the fascinating history of Africa, it's more, you realize that, you can go back to Egypt about the original origin of civilization that people just don't know.
Right, because Egypt is in Africa.
It is, hello. And my husband, by the way, and we did go there with the Congresswoman Diane Watson.
Oh, yes. Miss her.
Wonderful lady. One of my favorite friends.
Yes.
And we've been knowing each other many, many, many years.
Yes.
So we went there. We went to Kenya. And I sang this chant that hopefully that your audience will hear. I sang that for President Obama's grandmother's family there, because we went to the family compound in Kenya.
Gotcha.
And then afterwards we went to Dubai, and that was our full trip.
Okay.
The Orinibiri simply means ancestral chant.
Okay. Can you bring it up a little bit?
It simply means ancestral chant, and it is a tribute to the ancestors, because we are really standing on the backs of our ancestors. So what has gone before us, that has brought us to where we are, is very valuable. That's one of the reasons why I give tribute to my mother, and why I have formed my organization in her memory,
All right.
the Rose Breast Cancer Society,
Okay.
because of what she did for me.
Okay.
You know, on a secretary salary, she put me through USC.
Right, because you got your bachelor's from, your bachelor's, what did you get?
I received my bachelor's of fine arts,
Fine arts,
there.
there.
And then after, of course, I became established as an educator. I was able to put myself through Pepperdine, and I
Received your
my
master's.
Master of Science. Right.
Ron, can you bring up a little bit of that music so we can actually hear it? Okay.
And
Fantastic.
I was going to say that it's very critical that we recognize what we have inherited
Yes.
from each parent, from our ancestors,
Yes.
you know, and acknowledge that, you know. So I've been
Makes you proud to be an American of African descent.
American
Yes.
of African, Irish, Native American, and Mexican descent. I give them all acknowledgement, and that way, you know, if everybody recognized who they are
Yes.
and recognize the rich heritage that they have, I think that would also give them more a sense of, well, how could I say it? Pride, even though that's not a good word to say. When I was still teaching, I was in a school during the most part of my career in South Central, and I dealt with a lot of the kids who were either in the gang or wanted to be in the gang.
Right.
And I truly believe that they would have a different viewpoint if they knew who they really are.
That's great.
If they knew that they come from royalty. I mean, not that each and every person is a king or queen, but the fact is that the heritage from Africa is truly very rich.
Yes, it is.
And if they really see what's going on right now, you know, and many of the modern cities that are there, they look like cities that are right here.
That's right.
And a lot of people don't want you to know that.
No, they don't. And I get sometimes, as an educator myself, I get sometimes upset when I see people of color who don't know their own history. And that's one subject. And there are others who don't want to know their history. They make me even worse. You need to know. I look at other ethnic groups, like the Jewish people, they know their culture. Hispanics, they know their culture. We need to know our culture,
That's
where
right.
we came from.
That's
Don't
right.
be ashamed of who you are.
That's
Be
right.
proud of who you are.
That's right. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote that grant.
Yes.
And put together that expo at that school.
Yes.
And then, you know, later on, I believe there was a connection at the time that that was in the atmosphere of the universe, because nothing comes from us, it comes through us.
Yes.
I became friends with James Burke, who started the African Marketplace. And it's basically on the same premise, because we're on the same wavelength. And that grew up and blew up to be one of the biggest attractions in the city for many, many years.
Now, when you were an arts instructor at the LA Unified School District, some of your students got scholarships, didn't they?
Yes, they did, and I was
And you
very
did something
proud of
special
them.
for them, didn't you?
Yes, I did. We came in first, second, and third place in the Bicentennial Art Contest. 75 schools were involved, and I decided that I would have my students be recognized by taking them to pick up their awards in the only gold stretch limousine at that time. And that's because I was able to do it because my husband and I own Pittman
Your husband's
Limousine
name?
Service. Jerry Pittman.
Jerry Pittman.
You're right. That's where I get the Pittman from. And I asked my students, the young ladies, to wear nice dresses and the young men to wear their suits. And that we went there and picked up their awards, and I was very proud of my students.
Gotcha.
We've done many things together, including the put out a rap record. And,
Which one did you put out?
I became Ms. C. Rappin' Pittman.
Ms. C. Rappin' Pittman.
And the School of Cool.
School of Cool.
Yes, and it
it
made the charts. I had all the kids calling the DJs play the School of Cool. Well, what is the School of Cool? Okay, they finally put it on, and it made the charts.
Was Rosebud one of those songs?
No, that was a production my husband did on me.
Okay.
And that was when we first got together and we became man and wife.
Okay.
And it made the charts, on the same charts with James Brown. And now it's become what's considered a rare collectible over in northern England, and it's been collected in Scotland, Japan, Australia, now Germany. I just got a letter from a gentleman over there named Tobias in Germany, who discovered some music that I had produced before I met my husband. And he's looking for music from that era, and he wants to get the licensing agreement with me to produce that. But the record that my husband produced on me now is considered a rare collectible. Rosebud on one side, Isn't It Lonely on the other, and at the highest point of the collectors attaining that was $2,000 per single for vinyl.
Can we hear a little bit of that Rosebud?
You know, I thought I had it with me, but I tell you what, we also have another artist that we produced named Cy Hightower, and my voice is on the background. If we could hear some of that, that would be great. And it's called I Know You're Leaving Me.
Yeah, okay. He's going to play just a little bit of Just Like a Rose, just a little bit of Just Like a Rose.
Oh, okay, that's good. I'm glad you have that. I thought I had it with me, but I don't. And this particular album here, this is a compilation that was put out by Ubiquity Records, and it's got one of the recordings that's on the flip side of Rosebud, Isn't It Lonely? And my husband's voice can be heard on that.
Okay.
Things look swell, things look great. Oh, to have the whole world on a plate. Starting here, starting out, honey, everything's coming up roses. Clear the deck, clear the track. We got nothing to do but relax. We'll be swell, we'll be great, and everything's coming up roses. Now's our inning, set the world on its ear, set it spinning, that'll be just the beginning. Turn up, light the lights, we got nothing to hit but the heights. We'll be swell, we'll be great, I can tell, just you wait. That lucky star I talk about is you. Honey, everything's coming up roses for me and for you.
All right. What did we just see?
Oh, well, you saw part of a performance that I did for the Southern California Motion Picture Council.
Okay.
And it was Everything's Coming Up Roses, which is really from a musical about called Gypsy.
Yes.
And that was done originally by Ethel Merman.
Yes.
But it's become part of my mantra because with my organization, the Rose Breast Cancer Society, I sing it every opportunity I get. But the song that we were talking about that my husband produced, Rosebud, is a totally different story, really. Yeah, it's a different recording.
Okay.
And I hope that we'll be able to hear a little bit of that somehow.
Okay. This is the Actor's Choice with our guest today, Carmelita Pittman. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. You have done so many things. You're an actress, you're a singer. Behind us, you see some art folks. Can you tell us about what's behind us?
Well, I'd like to talk about this one here behind you, because if we can show the painting.
Okay.
Yeah, because that is something that I just brought out this past December because the gentleman who's standing next to me, his name is Michael Bush, and he is the person who created the wardrobe and costumes for Michael Jackson. And that's a painting that I had done of Michael Jackson. And so that I put the two of them together because Michael Bush was honored and he received a Golden Halo Award that evening. And he actually brought out some of the costumes, too, that Julian's auction house, I believe, had some of those on display. And I performed that evening, you know, so that's the reason why I was dressed in red, because it was for Christmas.
Wow. I noticed that you wear elegant dresses, wonderful hairstyles, and hats. That's your spirit, isn't it?
I just love dressing up and having fun, you know. When I was putting together
Thank you, Lorraine.
that expo at my school, you know, to promote that we were calling the Afro Expo at the time, I was encouraging the young ladies to wear their braids, you know, because I was showing all the beautiful hairstyles that came out of Africa and the headpieces and so on. And I wanted them to wear their dashikis when we had our ballet. I had a ballet.
I see.
And we had performers. I had about maybe 25 young people that were part of the chorus that came dancing down both sides of the aisles up to the stage. Beautiful. And I gave them their technique through one of the choreographers that I knew at the time who, you know, had been working with Little Richard. Carlo Fouché was one of them. And then there was another person that had a workshop. So they actually received training in African dancing. And and we created the backdrops and everything. I mean, the kids painted I shouldn't say kids, my students, you know, they're like my children. But they painted the backdrops and everything. We did a full production with choreography and costumes, a whole bit. And when I was encouraging them to dress up through the role, I said, it's going to be great. Come on, let's do this. And at first they were a little bashful about it. I said, well, look at me, because I would come to school dressed in dashikis and what have you. And at that time, I had an afro piece that I put on. And I have a funny story about that, so I'll tell that too. But it was like an Angela Davis afro, as they called it. And I said, well, yeah, you can wear your dashikis. And I said, look at me. They said, oh, but Mrs. Pittman, we're used to you. You know, 'cause I would come. They never knew what I was going to come dressed as. I had one little funny story. One kid came to school one day, and they were asking me, because you know, as you can tell, I'm always wearing different hair pieces, and you never know how it's going to be. I said, is that a wig you've got on? I said, yes, it is. I said, would you like to try it on? And then I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to fix them real good. I had, you know, how Patti LaBelle had, you know, those pieces where the hair was going like
all
this.
directions, yes.
Yeah. Well, like you had stuck your finger in the socket.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I had an electric blue wig like that. And so the next day, I was sitting at my desk, and I had this shocking electric blue wig on, like this.
Yes.
I was sitting at my desk just as proper, like nothing was going on. Right. I was waiting for the fallout. Sure enough, they almost fell. When my students came there and they saw me, they almost fell out the door. But I was always having fun like that. You know, I always had fun, you know.
Earlier you talked about James Brown. Can you take us back to a time where your students and James Brown and you got connected?
Oh, that was a couple of times, actually.
Yes.
The first time was when he got out of the big house.
James Brown was in the big house?
Yes, he was for a while.
Godfather, okay.
And Bonnie, you know, that was the connection with her, with me, you know.
Who's that name again?
Bonnie Hilton Sweeney.
Okay.
Yeah, she was his West Coast representative, and like I said, one of my closest friends at the time, you know, and she's gone on to glory now.
Yes.
But she knew that I could put my hands on, getting a hold of a group of youngsters, and they wanted to do a promotion for this record that he had coming out on Scotty Records at Tower Records. So he sent a white stretch limousine to the school, and also sent some buses, because I had also another school involved at Crenshaw High School, and we had a bunch of kids all together. By the time we got finished, a large group.
Yes.
And so we transported them out there, and he took photographs and all. And I have those pictures. I didn't think to bring any of that stuff with me, but anyway, that was one time that the kids were involved with him. And then another time when, unfortunately, there was the Columbine shootings, and he came out with a rap record, Killing Is Out, School Is In.
Yes, he did.
And he gave us all T-shirts with that on it. And we, rounded up several kids. At that particular time, I had already actually left the district. I had been working for many, many years, and I decided that I would move on to, another phase of my life. My students at the time, they said, "Mrs. Pittman, what did we do?" I said, "You haven't done anything. It's time for me to graduate." So I left, but my friend who was in Inglewood at the time said, "Oh no, you don't. We need you over here." And they put me in this what they call opportunity school with the kids who really needed help. I mean, I had dealt with members of the Crips at the other school. This particular school had the Bloods, so I didn't know it. But when I got ready to pick the kids up at that school, I was doing my best to get them to want to go with me to go to see James Brown at the Greek Theater, be on stage with him. I don't think they really believed me, because very few of them showed up at the bus. But I still wound up with a full bus and with all the other kids, because Mr. Brown, he used to always want to be called Mr. Brown, wanted something that represented America, all different nationalities. So I got the kids from La Cañada, from Hollywood, and so on. And when we arrived at the Greek Theater, I don't know how the kid that had admitted to me that he was a Blood told me so. I don't know how he found us, but all of those people there in cars, he found me. His father drove him there.
Wow.
And he was so happy to see me, he reached out and gave me a hug. I said, I'm big, Mr. Big and Bad, right?
He's human.
See?
Yeah, he's
See,
human.
a little love can go a long ways.
Yes,
Go
yeah.
a long ways. And those kids knew I loved them.
Yes.
They knew I loved them. That's why I believe I was able to have the success that I was able to achieve with my students, because I love my students.
Gotcha. You've achieved many, many statuses. You're a founding member of the annual Black Tie Pre-Grammy Music Industry Gala, along with the person you just spoke about a few moments ago, Bonnie Hilton Sweeney.
Well, I won't give myself credit as a founder, because she was the founder.
She's a founder, okay.
It was her baby.
Your baby.
But I was a nursemaid.
All right.
For many, many years. In 1998, I actually chaired it and co-sponsored it.
Okay.
I paid for just about everything, the food, the catering, the location, the Clegg lights. Now, Mr. Brown, he paid for all the trophies.
Yes.
I took care of the invitations, you name it,
Yes.
I
Remember
just
April
jumped
Sutton?
in.
Do you remember that name?
April Sutton is still
Yes.
very much a part of my life. In fact, she was just honored at the Lady in Red event
Yes,
by
she
the
was.
Multicultural Motion Picture
Yes.
Association.
We'll bring her here. We'll have her here.
And I was
Yes.
a part of her being honored, and so we spent quite a lot of time together afterwards, and she really gave me some wonderful gifts and acknowledgments, which
Wonderful
I
lady.
appreciate. And as a matter of fact, that painting that's behind you,
Okay.
one of the reasons why I painted it in the first place is because one of my board members, Gloria Berlin, is the realtor who sold Michael Jackson Neverland Ranch.
Okay.
And she has a book that she was promoting In Search of Neverland, about her friendship with Michael and how she had come to sell him the property. And it was really a very touching and very, very inspiring story, all positive, And so April came out on this particular time, which was in August, which was the time of his birth. And she brought a lot with her, which was the publicist for the Jacksons, and Gloria brought the Michael's bodyguard, and Michael's photographer showed up, and all these people connected with Michael became a part of the event. And the reason why I gave her a book signing is because she, being a part of my organization, has brought recognition to the organization, and in fact she even wrote a foreword about the Rose Breast Cancer Society in the book itself. And so I sponsored that event through the organization, and we held it in Elderberry's restaurant, which is a health restaurant. You see the connection?
Yes, yes.
When we talked about the connection between body, mind, and spirit, and Dr. Burt came, and he's a cancer survivor, and he talked about the special kind of water that helped bring his health back.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about the other water that everybody knows about, but the water that his associate had been working on with some Russian scientists connected with UCLA.
Yes.
And so I thought that was very appropriate to have him there and to speak about that. And it's just been a wonderful connection, because when I've had my events for the organization, it's to connect the fine arts with the wellness.
Yes.
Because the arts is something that's very personal, and subjective. You can't really put your finger on it, because it comes from I say a higher space.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
and it comes through us and manifests through us, and we can talk through the arts. And now I'm also associated with another organization that's being established by a new friend named Mooney Aroni, and it's called Arts for Peace. And she's been wanting me to be an ambassador as part of her organization. Well, I am going to be flying out of here at the beginning of January, just before this Peace March with her group. And we're going to go to New Jersey and to New York for a summit. And we will be speaking. I've got to put together a speech to promote peace. And then when I come back, we'll be part of this Peace March. And can I give out that website?
Please.
To your listeners, it's going to be January the 9th.
January the 9th.
And there's actually 3 parts to it. The first part, it will be the rally downtown with the mayor and all of the city officials, and that'll be at City Hall at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'll be speaking there also. And then at 10 o'clock, everybody will be gathering to do the actual march itself at the corner of 5th and Hope.
5th and Hope.
Yes, and then they're going to, the route has been set for us by the city.
Gotcha.
As a matter of fact, the city is banking on this to be a success, because they are expending up close to $80,000 to make sure that the streets are blocked off and that we are protected. And there will be people that will be marching with us to make sure everything goes smoothly, that are represented by the city.
Super.
And the fire department's been notified, and whoever needs to know about it's all. There will be no activity that day, no, streets being worked on, the maintenance.
Okay.
will-
January 9th.
January 9th, they're going to hold off on that so that everything will go smoothly. And we're looking for 1,000 ladies to wear white, like I'm wearing white. And I've got my marching shoes on.
All right.
I've marched before. I'm ready to march again.
Okay.
For peace and love and family values. And then we're going to go to the USC Radisson Hotel, and there's going to be a red carpet gala at that time at noon. And for that, there will be ticket sales now.
Gotcha.
Now,
Is there a telephone number?
Yeah,
for
there for more information.
Yes.
They can go to www.womeninwhites with the S on it. Womeninwhites.webs with the S on the end of webs .com or .net
Okay.
at the end. So
Can you give it to us one more time?
Yes, womeninwhites.webs.com or .net, one of those two. Yeah,
Okay.
and that'll give them the updated information and anything that they want to know. Plus, there's a phone number that they can call.
Okay. You come from some good stock. And one of the things, and we have just a few moments left, but I want to make sure that we talk about an organization that you're familiar with and responsible for, called the Rose Breast Cancer Society. LaRon, can you play just a little bit of a tape of that so people can see what that's all about?
Coming in, so we will have to leave after the show. But she will be on the patio and she'll be glad to talk to you about it. This is a great gift for the holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, just remember this. And it is $10. So let us bring up to stage this glamorous, fabulous, multi-talented singer, and we will have you all listen carefully now to her. She has a huge following. Carmelita Pittman.
Is better because see the guy.
What did we just see?
Well, like I was explaining to you all, it was showing. Actually, October is not only Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it's also Domestic Awareness Month.
Yes.
And
Domestic abuse.
The song that was part of the musical that I had mentioned to you, that I composed and produced, is called Evil Man. And there's a story behind that.
Okay.
And
But this organization that you put together, you put it together for a special reason. What was that?
well, that's a living memorial for my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the idea of breast cancer, it's been around for a long, long time. Cancer has been around for a long time.
Yes, it has.
Now, you did this in honor of your mother. Did she have breast cancer?
Yes, she did.
And she died from it? Okay.
Yeah. But I have since learned a lot.
Okay.
And I probably should show this book. Can I show this book?
Please.
Yeah. This book is called Cancer Step Outside the Box
Okay.
by Ty Bollinger. It's an eye-opening book that has actually saved lives.
Yes.
And my organization is basically educational in nature. In fact, our
Yes.
mission statement is education for the prevention and intervention of breast cancer. And because we're an arts-based organization, we bring the fine arts into it to connect that with wellness.
Okay.
And my mom was a gifted, multi-talented artist. And, I believe that the gifts that she received from a higher power, as I said before, that we all call God, that she was very generous with her gifts. And I've been very blessed. So, in many, many ways. And that's why I'm doing this, because it's my way of giving back to the community in her memory. And I operated more or less like the peace pilgrim, the way Christ operated when he was around. He just, where he would go where there was a door that was open.
Yes.
And I've been very fortunate to have these miracles happen along the way. For example, the 14th event that we had, the Roserati Art Show, was held on the first luxury estate built in Beverly Hills, just north of the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Okay.
And we wound up with 2 mansions on 6.5 acres to work with. And at the particular time, I did not have any idea where we were going to have our event, and only had 4 weeks to go before the time we were to have it, with no place to go.
Yes.
And that's where we wound up, and in front of the rose garden.
Interesting. Roses. Yes.
See, roses were my mother's favorite flower. And
Since you mentioned roses,
Oh,
I
my
would feel
gosh.
bad if I didn't let
Oh,
you, just for this
my
occasion,
goodness.
white roses and a white dress that you have.
oh my!
Thank you so much for what you do for so many people.
Oh my goodness! And it goes with my
It
dress.
certainly does. It certainly does.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Cancer is something that's very close to me also. Your mother, breast cancer, you fighting for breast cancer. I'm a double prostate cancer survivor myself. And we do what we have to do. You go out there, and those of us who have been able to survive it, you go and you talk to people to try to give them education so they can understand how serious cancer is. It's not a joke. Prostate cancer is the #1 killer of African American men. Breast cancer kills a lot of black women.
And I have to tell you that it's a higher percentage among Americans of African descent too,
Yes.
as a matter of fact.
Yes.
And at this point, the statistics, as I know them, there's 1 out of 3 that will contract cancer.
Yes.
By the year 2020, it's expected 1 out of 2. And I don't want to alarm anybody, but we're all living with cancer cells.
Right, you're born with cancer cells.
We're all living with them.
Sure
It's a
do.
question of knowing what to do with your body to keep it in balance, so that your immune system becomes strong enough in order to ward it off, so that you have optimum health.
Yes.
And I've learned that our immune system is actually located in our gut.
Yes, it is.
So what you eat becomes a part of you. We are what we eat. So when you know what to eat, and you eat living foods, organic living foods, it helps provide you life.
Yes.
When I started on this course, I started before I knew it, because my mom was a beautiful woman, by the way, beautiful woman.
Look at her daughter.
Well, thank you. Favor que me hace. Thank you for that. She was into health, and I think that kind of led me on that path before I realized it, because there was a book that she had by Gaylord Hauser, who was one of the pioneers of the wellness field. Now there's more and more coming on board, but at the time she was knowing about it, nobody's really that much into it. And there was, as a matter of fact, a book that I remember that she had that was published in the 30s by a lady who I can't remember the name of now, but she would advocate fasting. And, you know, your body does need to rest. She, you know, was, again, into health. And Gaylord Hauser's book was about how to live to 100 and be healthy. Right. You know, there's no good to live a long life if you're not healthy, because your health is your wealth.
Right.
You know,
it's your wealth.
So.
Are you thinking about writing a book?
You know what? I have a friend now. He's published many articles about me in his publication. It's called The Hollywood Weekly.
Okay.
And he's been after me to write a book.
Oh, please do.
And he's told me that I know I do have several books in me, that's for sure. But he said I'm a publisher, and I'll publish it. So now I have to get busy.
Yes, get busy, please. Which brings me to my favorite question. Carmelita, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a humanitarian, as a person that loved people, and a person who loved peace and loved life. I love life. I love being alive. I love having fun. And sometimes people probably wonder, well, when is she going to sit down? Hey, as long as I have life in me, I'm going to keep on moving like the Energizer Bunny and having fun.
Are there any other future projects that you have in mind?
Well, the book.
Okay.
That's, I'm going to have to stop and really do something about that. And the archives that I have of photographs, the ones that I was able to get my hands on, because unfortunately, when we were doing the pre-Grammy Gala, one of the people who was our sponsor wanted to borrow some of my photographs of all the celebrities, which I innocently turned over. I had pictures, you will not believe, I have pictures of really very famous people, and they wanted to put them on the cover of one of our souvenir books.
Okay.
Never saw those pictures again.
Wow.
I still have several. You know, I'm going through all my photographs now of many people that I've taken pictures with over the years, and then after a while I got to the point where I'm thinking, okay, I'm taking photographs with this star and that star. Hey, you know, why, you know, like the song I just sang for the veterans.
And thank you for, I'm a veteran, thank you for that.
I sang The Greatest Love of All, and there's a line in there, never following anyone's shadow.
Right.
I'm thinking, I remember my friend Janae DuBois, she says, come and join us, come and join us, you know, you need to be part of this. And I'm thinking, okay, now it's not a big deal to me anymore to want to take a picture with someone who's famous. I mean, because, hey, never following anyone's shadow.
Exactly, because you're just as famous as they.
You know. So I'm starting to realize it's time for me to do my thing now.
Sure.
You know. Yes. I've been around long enough. You know.
Yeah. Time for you to do your thing.
Yeah.
We've come to the end of our road on another show. It has been indeed an immense pleasure for us to have you here today. We've learned a lot about you. Continue painting. Continue doing the things for breast cancer that you're doing. Continue all the good things that you've done. Just as a final thought, I just want to share that with you in front of our audience, because it's good folks like you, Carmelita, that let us go, keep on pushing, as Curtis Mayfield would say. And as we said today, Carmelita Pittman, actress, singer, performer, producer, a wonderful lady.
Can I give you a hug?
You can give me a hug.
I'm a hugger.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Again, we will see each and every one of our viewers at next time in about another week. Would like to say Happy New Year to everybody, because the next time I see you, it's going to be a new year. And again, thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Ron Brewington, and I love doing this job. I love working with the good folks that we have. I want to thank Laurent, our engineer. He makes sure he keeps us on track. Thank you all very much, and Happy New Year. We'll see you next time.